Their biggest mistake wasn't disrespecting you. It was underestimating you. They saw your kindness and called it weakness. They saw your forgiveness and took it as permission. They were so confident they had you figured out, so certain of your limits, that they never bothered to imagine you without them. They left you for dead in the ruins of what you built together. They have no idea what you are becoming in the silence. They have no clue that the pain they inflicted is the very fuel for a transformation they are not prepared to witness. They think you are broken. Let them dot what happens when the person they thought they destroyed becomes the one thing they can never get back. The silence they left you with is a noise you can't escape. It's the phantom limb of a text message you can no longer send. It's the hollow echo in your apartment that used to be filled with their voice. Disrespect is not a single act, it's a haunting. It's a ghost that sits on your chest while you sleep, whispering that you were not enough, that you were easy to discard. You find yourself crafting arguments in the shower, winning battles in your mind that will never be fought in reality. You search for closure in a locked room where they hold the only key, and they have thrown it away. This burning need for them to see you, to finally acknowledge the wound they inflicted, is a special kind of hell. It's a poison you drink every single day, hoping they will feel the pain. The great Stoics knew about this poison. They understood it intimately. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, Emperor of Rome, wrote to himself every single night, not about his power, but about his own mind, about the futility of seeking validation from those who are fickle and ungrateful. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and rose to become one of history's most revered philosophers, taught that true freedom is not about changing another person's mind, but about mastering your own. He taught that the cage is not what others do to you, but what you allow it to do to your soul. What if the path to making them regret it has nothing to do with them at all? What if it's about forging a version of yourself that is so serene, so powerful, so utterly indifferent to their judgment that your transformation becomes the ghost that haunts them? This isn't about revenge. This is about your resurrection. That urge to explain yourself as a fire in your throat. It's a physical craving. You see their name pop up, perhaps a breadcrumb text after weeks of silence, and your thumbs begin to move before your mind can catch up. You want to send the perfectly crafted paragraph, the one that lays out the evidence of your worth, piece by piece, as if you are you're arguing for your own humanity. You want to articulate the precise shape of the void they left, to make them understand the depth of their betrayal, to force them to look at the wreckage. This is the trap. This is the script they wrote for you, and they are waiting for you to play your part. They expect your anger. They expect your tears. They expect your pleas for an explanation. They are prepared for that battle. In fact, they welcome it. Your emotional reaction is a drug for their ego. It confirms their power. It proves to them that they still hold sway over your inner world. When you scream, you are telling them they matter. When you cry, you are telling them they can still hurt you. When you demand answers, you are telling them they hold the truth. But what happens when you give them nothing? What happens when their text message sits there, read, with no reply? What happens when their attempt to provoke you is met with a vast, echoing silence? You don't just confuse them, you starve them. You take away their script, tear it into pieces, and set it on fire. Your silence is not emptiness. It is a space you are finally, blessedly, reclaiming. It is a deafening declaration that says, "My peace is now more valuable than your understanding." The Stoics had a name for this power. They called it the discipline of assent. It is the profound choice to not react emotionally to external events, but to see them simply as they are. Epictetus, the slave who became a sage, said it with a clarity that cuts through 2,000 years of history. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Their disrespect is a stone they threw at you. The disturbance, the pain, the chaos, It is not the stone itself. It is the ripples you allow it to create in the waters of your mind. For weeks, for months, you have allowed their single act to turn the calm lake of your soul into a churning, violent sea dot by choosing silence. You are choosing to become that still, deep lake once more. Let them wonder. Let them reread your last message, searching for clues in your old words, because you are offering no new ones. Let them sit in the uncomfortable void you have created, a void they are forced to fill with their own insecurities, their own shame, their own questions. Your refusal to engage is not a weakness. It is not passive. It is the ultimate power move. It is a locked door. It says, "You do not have the key to my emotional world anymore. You are not welcome here." Your silence becomes a mirror. As long as you were reacting, they were looking at you. Now with you out of the frame, the mirror turns back on them and they are forced to see themselves, their cruelty, their cowardice, their disrespect. They threw a stone and expected a dramatic splash. Instead, they hear only the unsettling, quiet thud of it hitting the bottom. And they are left utterly alone with the sound of the echo. What do they do in that silence? They might get angry at first. They might call you childish or accuse you of playing games. This is a desperate attempt to get you to react, to break your frame, to pull you back into the chaos they understand. Do not take the bait. Their lashing out is the death rattle of their control over you. Every silent moment that passes, their power diminishes. Your power grows. You are no longer a participant in their drama. You are the silent, watchful audience, and you are realizing the play is, and always was, a tragedy of their own making. Look around you. After they leave, your life can feel like a city in ruins. They were the invading army that tore down your walls, pillaged your treasures, and salted the earth on their way out. The emotional trigger is looking at your own life, your hobbies, your goals, your physical health, and seeing everything covered in a fine layer of dust from their departure. The songs you loved are now their songs. The restaurant you enjoyed is now a place you can't go. Your own future feels like a ghost town, haunted by plans you made together. The temptation is to stay in that rubble, to sit on a collapsed wall and mourn what was lost, to run your fingers through the ash and remember the warmth of the fire before it consumed everything. This is a state of paralysis. It is a prison made of memory. The Stoic, however, does not see ruins. The Stoic sees raw material. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, writing in his tent on a cold night at the battlefront, scribbled a line that would become a mantra for warriors, poets, and presidents for centuries to come. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Read that again. What stands in the way becomes the way. The fire they started is not your end. It is your forge. This humiliation, this searing pain, this feeling of being utterly worthless, this is not poison. This is fuel. The disrespect they showed you is the obstacle. Therefore, disrespect is the way forward. This is where you begin the quiet work, the work they will never see. This is not about posting triumphant pictures on social media. This is not a performance for an audience of one. This is a deep internal reconstruction. You go to the gym not to sculpt a revenge body to make them jealous, but to build a vessel of discipline and strength that you can rely on. You are teaching your body on a cellular level that you can withstand pressure and come back stronger. You are reforging the connection between your will and your physical self. You read books, not to appear intelligent, but to fortify the citadel of your mind. You study philosophy, history, art. You fill your head with ideas so grand and timeless that the memory of their small betrayal begins to shrink in comparison. You throw yourself into your work or a new project, not as a distraction, but as an act of creation. You are building an empire of your own making, an empire of competence, of skill, of value, where you and you alone are the sovereign. The metaphor is that of a master blacksmith. You take the jagged, broken, ugly pieces they left behind, the shards of pain, the hot slag of anger, the cold iron of sorrow, and you refuse to let them lie there. You gather them up, you carry them to the fire, and with the force of your will you heat them until they glow white-hot, until their old shape is completely gone. You lay them on the anvil of your daily discipline, and you begin to hammer. Every morning you wake up when you don't want to. That is a strike of the hammer. Every time you choose the difficult, meaningful task over the easy distraction, that is a strike of the hammer. Every time you feel the wave of grief and choose to sit with it, to understand it instead of running from it, that is a strike of the hammer. You are not fixing what they broke. You are melting it all down and forging something new. Something stronger. Something that is entirely yours. A sword of clarity. A shield of resilience. A crown of self-respect. The emotional payoff isn't just success or a life that looks good from the outside. It's a profound, unshakable sense of self-creation. You look in the mirror one day and you don't just see someone who survived. You see a creator, an architect, a blacksmith. You see someone who took the worst moment of their life and turned it into the foundation of their strongest self. And when they hear of you, or see you months or years from now, they won't just see that you've moved on. They will see that you used the very rubble they left you in to build a fortress they could never dream of breaching. Their disrespect was not your undoing. It was the catalyst for your dynasty. They thought they were burying you. They didn't know you were a seed. The most painful part of being disrespected is not the act itself, but the slow, grinding aftermath of feeling small. Your mind becomes a courtroom where you are the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury, and they are perpetually on the stand. You cross-examine their motives. You replay their words. You dissect their last text message as if it were a sacred text holding the secrets of the universe. This obsession becomes a full-time job, and the pay is misery. You check their social media not with a casual glance, but with the forensic intensity of a detective searching for clues. Is their smile genuine in that new photo? Who is that person with them? Do they look happy? Do they look happier than they were with you? You hunt for any sign, a sad song lyric, a late-night post that they feel even a sliver of the pain that has consumed you. This hunt is a chain. And every time you check on them, you are forging another link, binding your emotional state directly to their life. They hold all the power, not because they are powerful, but because you have decided their opinion of you, their happiness, their life, still matters. You have given them the remote control to your feelings. True power is not forcing them to finally see your value. It is reaching a state of mind where their validation is as worthless to you as a counterfeit coin. You don't throw it away in anger. You just don't accept it as currency anymore. This is the very heart of Stoic practice. It is the application of what Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. It is a simple but life-altering idea. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. What they think, what they feel, what they say, who they are with, whether they regret their actions, these things are emphatically, 100%, not up to you. They exist in a separate universe over which you have zero control. To try and influence them is, as Seneca put it, to suffer from things that have not yet happened and from things that will never happen. It is to live in a fantasy of your own making, your judgments, your responses, your actions, your peace of mind. These are the only things in the universe that are truly yours. This is your kingdom. And for too long, you have allowed a foreign invader to dictate the laws within it. The power move here is the practice of apatheia. This is often mistranslated as apathy. It does not mean becoming a cold, emotionless robot. It means achieving a state of tranquil indifference to things outside of your control. It's not that you don't feel. It's that you have become incredibly discerning about what you allow to affect you. Imagine your attention, your focus, your emotional energy is a finite and precious resource, like a canteen of water in the middle of a vast desert. For weeks, you have been unscrewing the cap and pouring all of it onto the dead, barren ground of their memory, desperately trying to make something grow there. It will never work. The ground is infertile. Now you make a conscious choice. You stop, you screw the cap back on, and you turn your attention to your own garden. You begin to pour that precious water on your own goals, your own friendships, your own mental health. You cultivate your own joy, your own interests. The day will come when you cross their mind. Perhaps they'll hear a song or drive past a place you used to go, and they will wonder about you. A part of them, the part that still feeds on the power they had, will expect you to be in the same place they left you. They will expect that if they reach out, they will be met with a storm of emotion, anger, or sadness. It doesn't matter which, as long as it's a reaction. Instead, if that day ever comes, they will be met with a calm, pleasant, and soul-crushing neutrality. Your indifference will not be a performance. You won't be acting unbothered. You will genuinely be unbothered. Their existence will have shrunk to such a small point in your rearview mirror that you can barely see it. This indifference is the cage they can never escape, because the bars aren't made of your anger or your hate. The bars are made of their own irrelevance. They can pull on them, they can scream at them, but they cannot break them, because the cage is in their mind, not yours. They have become a ghost to you. And there is nothing more haunting than trying to rattle the chains at someone who can no longer see or hear you. Think back to how it was. When you were there, you were a buffer. You were an emotional shock absorber. Without even realizing it, you stood between them and the reality of their own behavior. You absorbed their moods. You explained away their coldness as stress. You filled the uncomfortable silences they created with your own warmth and chatter. In your desperation to be valued, to keep the peace, you became the unpaid, unthanked, emotional caretaker of the relationship. You shielded them from themselves. You were the one who apologized when you weren't wrong, just to end the fight. You were the one who managed their ego, carefully navigating their insecurities so they wouldn't lash out. Your presence, your constant effort, allowed them to live in a comfortable illusion where their actions had no real consequences, because you were always there to clean up the emotional mess. The moment you are truly gone, and I mean truly gone, not just physically absent, but energetically disconnected. No more angry texts, no late night I miss you calls, no more checking their stories, no accidental run-ins, is the moment the mirror appears. Your absence removes the filter. It takes away the buffer. For the first time, perhaps in years, they are left utterly alone with the full, undiluted consequences of their actions and their character. There is no one to blame. There is no one to absorb the impact. There is only them and the space where you used to be. This creates a deep and unsettling psychological shift. As long as you are reacting, fighting, trying, demanding, you are still part of the dynamic. You are the other half of the toxic dance. Your reaction, even a negative one, completes the circuit and keeps the energy flowing between you. But when you withdraw your energy completely, you unplug the entire system. You are no longer a participant. You are an observer of a story you have decided to stop reading. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote constantly about the importance of self-examination. He said that we should retire into ourselves as much as possible, but some people never do this willingly. They are too afraid of what they will find in your total absence. The person who disrespected you is forced into a state of involuntary self-examination. The silence you leave behind creates a vacuum, and into that vacuum rushes the undeniable truth of their own behavior. They will go about their life. They will start new relationships or new friendships. And sooner or later, they will see the same dysfunctional patterns emerge. They will find themselves being cold. They will create an uncomfortable silence. They will act out of insecurity, but this time they cannot point the finger at you. You are not there. Your craziness or your neediness or whatever label they put on your reactions can no longer be used as their excuse. They are the only common denominator in their own failed connections. The metaphor is a soundproof room. Before, the noise of the conflict, the arguments, the drama, your reactions deafened them to the sound of their own discord. It was a chaotic symphony that allowed them to hide. Now you have walked out of the room and closed the heavy door. Behind you, they are left inside in total, unnerving silence. And in that silence, the only sound they can hear is the high-pitched ringing in their own ears, the tinnitus of their own toxicity, the regret they eventually feel if they are capable of it is of a different nature than you imagine. It's often not the romantic movie-style regret, "I lost the best person I ever had." It's something far more existential and terrifying for them. It is the regret of being forced finally to meet themselves and finding that they do not like the person they are when no one is around to save them from their own reflection. Your absence didn't just remove you from their life. It held up a mirror they can never put down. There's a dangerous lie we are told from the moment we are born, that our joy is a conditional thing, that it is a prize to be won, a thing that lives inside another person, a status to be achieved, an outcome to be secured. So when that person disrespects and discards you, they don't just steal your present happiness. They steal the very hope of your future joy. The immediate emotional trigger is the bleak belief that you cannot be truly happy again without them, or, at the very least, without the validation of their regret. So you begin a sad and transparent performance. You look for grand dramatic gestures to prove your new spectacular happiness. You post ecstatic photos on social media, tagged with hollow hashtags about being blessed and living your best life. You go to parties and laugh, a little too loudly. You loudly proclaim to anyone who will listen how great your life is now, how much better off you are. This is a fragile, performative happiness. It is a house of cards built on a foundation of pain, and it is still entirely about them. Every loud laugh is for them. Every smiling photo is for them. You are still living in reaction to them. You are trying to win a game they are no longer even playing. The Stoic path is different. It leads not to a louder, more spectacular joy, but to a deeper, quieter, and more unshakable joy. A joy that is weatherproof. Seneca, a man who had immense wealth and then had it all taken away, who knew fame and then exile, advised us to find richness not in what we can acquire, but in what we already have, in virtue, in purpose, and in the simple, profound act of living. This is your sacred work now. It is the practice of finding joy not in a spectacle, but in subtleties. It is the feeling of the sun on your skin during a quiet walk, and for the first time, you are not replaying arguments in your head, you are just feeling the warmth. It is the taste of your morning coffee, and you are not checking your phone for a message that will never come. You are just tasting the coffee. It is the genuine, easy laughter with a friend who always had your back, the kind of laughter that makes your stomach hurt in the best way possible. It is the deep, quiet satisfaction of finishing a difficult task you set for yourself. The metaphor is learning to see in color after a lifetime of living in black and white. You were convinced that they were the source of all the color in your world, their presence, their validation, their love. That was what painted your life with vibrancy. And when they left, they plunged you into a world of gray. But now, through quiet work and attention, you begin to discover the truth. The color was never in them, it was in you. You just needed to learn how to see it for yourself. You begin to cultivate what the ancient Greeks called eudaimonia. It's often translated as happiness, but it's much deeper than that. It is human flourishing. It is the profound contentment that comes from living a life of virtue, purpose, and excellence. It is the joy that arises naturally from becoming the person you were always meant to be. This joy is internal. It is not an asset that can be given by another person, and therefore it cannot be taken away. It is not a flame that can be blown out by the winds of their opinion. It is a steady subterranean fire, a geothermal heat that comes from the very core of your being. When they see you, months or years later, they will not see someone who is desperately trying to win the breakup. They won't see a performance. They will see someone who is radiating a state of calm, centered contentment so profound that it makes their past drama seem childish and insignificant. Your peace will be a rebuke to their chaos. They will regret not what they lost, because they were never capable of appreciating what they had. They will regret that they never learned how to access the kind of unshakable peace you have found. For yourself, they are still out there, searching for joy in other people, in external things, forever trapped on the hamster wheel of validation. You have stepped off, and you have found a joy they can never, ever touch. People who disrespect you, especially repeatedly, do so from a position of perceived certainty. They believe they have you figured out. They have studied you, not out of love, but out of a need for control. They've placed you in a neat, small box with a label on it. Maybe the label says the forgiver, the one who will always absorb the hurt and come back for more. Maybe it says the predictable, the one whose emotional responses follow a simple, manipulable pattern. They know which buttons to push to make you angry, which ones to push to make you sad, and which ones to push to make you compliant. This predictability is the source of their power. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel superior. The most profound way to dismantle their entire worldview, the most effective way to make them regret their condescension, is to become utterly unpredictable. Not through chaos or impulsive drama, that is their game. And you are done playing it. You become unpredictable through deliberate, disciplined, and relentless growth. You must become the storm they never saw brewing on the horizon. The Stoic principle at play here is the constant, daily pursuit of self-improvement and the commitment to living in accordance with your true nature, not the nature they assigned. To you, your true nature is not to be a doormat. Your true nature is not to be a predictable machine. Your nature as a human being is to grow, to adapt, to learn, and to become stronger. So you break the patterns. One by one, you conduct an audit of the person you were with them, and you begin the process of systematic change. Where you were once passive, you learn to be assertive. Not aggressive, but clear and firm in your boundaries. You learn to say no without guilt. Where you were once needy, you cultivate radical self-reliance. You learn how to fix the leaky faucet yourself, how to take yourself out to dinner, how to sit comfortably in your own silence. You prove to yourself that you are not half of a whole, but a complete universe unto yourself. Where you were once afraid of their judgment, you become courageous in your convictions. You start dressing the way you've always wanted to. You pursue the hobby you always dismissed as silly. You speak your mind on subjects you used to stay silent on. You become a student of your own life. Every day is a classroom. Every challenge is a lesson. Every setback is data. This is a transformation on a fundamental level. The metaphor is the caterpillar entering the chrysalis. To the outside world, and to the person who wronged you, it looks like a period of dormancy. They see your withdrawal, your silence, and they interpret it as weakness. They think you are hiding, licking your wounds, slowly and sadly healing. They feel a sense of pity, which reinforces their ego. They think, poor thing, they still haven't gotten over me. But inside that quiet chrysalis, a violent and total transformation is occurring. Nothing is being repaired. Everything is being remade. Cells are dissolving and reforming. An entirely new architecture is being built. And when you finally emerge, You are not a better, shinier version of the caterpillar. You are not a repaired version of your old self. You are something else entirely. Something they cannot recognize. Something with wings. Their regret, when it comes, is born from a profound sense of shock. It's the dizzying realization that they completely and utterly misjudged you. They thought you were a simple creature, easy to understand and easy to control. They had no idea of the complexity, the strength, the potential that lay dormant within you. They didn't just disrespect a person. They disrespected a force of nature in the making. They had a chance to witness and support your becoming, to be there for the emergence, and instead, they chose to be the reason for it. They thought they were the main character who wrote you out of the story. They will be horrified to realize they were just the catalyst in the first chapter of your epic. Right now, let's be honest, they are the main characters in your story of pain. Their act of disrespect is the central event, the sun around which all your thoughts and emotions orbit. Every sad song, every lonely night, every pang of anger is a reaction to what they did. You are living in a narrative that they wrote, and they cast you as the victim. The most powerful act of quiet revenge you can take is to seize the pen from their hand. You must become the author of your own story once again. And in this new draft, they are not the villains. A villain is still a main character. No, in your story, they are relegated to a much smaller role, the inciting incident. They are a single chapter in a long and epic novel. They are a footnote. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly practiced what is now called taking the view from above. He would imagine himself rising up, looking down on the city of Rome, then on the whole of Italy, then the world, then the entire cosmos. From this vast cosmic perspective, his own problems, even the betrayals and political schemes that threatened his life, shrank to their proper size. They became insignificant dots in the immensity of time and space. This is your final and most important task. You must zoom out. You see that this moment of pain, while sharp and real and valid, is just one single frame in the long, beautiful, and complex film of your life. It is not the whole movie. You begin, with intention and discipline, to build a future so compelling, so exciting, and so deeply aligned with your own values that the memory of their disrespect begins to lose its emotional charge. It is no longer a live wire that electrocutes you every time you touch it. It becomes simple information. A data point. A scar. Think of a scar from a childhood fall. You can look at it. You can remember the fall, the brief moment of pain, the scraped knee. The scar tells a story. You fell, but you also healed. You learned to walk and then run more carefully. The scar is not ugly. It is a testament to your resilience. Their disrespect is now just a scar on your psyche. It is proof that you were wounded, but more importantly, it is proof that you healed. The ultimate power move is to build a life where you simply forget to check if they are regretting it. You become so focused on your purpose, on your work, your art, your community, your growth, that the question of their emotional state ceases to even occur to you. You are too busy building your empire. You are too busy exploring your own world. You are too busy enjoying your own hard-won peace. And in that moment of genuine forgetting, you have won. You have won completely. The metaphor is that of a great ship charting a course across a vast ocean. Their disrespect was a violent, unexpected storm. It tossed you about, tore your sails, and threw you terrifyingly off course. For a time, all you could think about was the storm, the injustice of it, the fear, the damage. But you did not sink. You righted the ship. You learned how to mend the sails. You studied the stars. And you set a new course, a course for a distant sunlit shore that you chose for yourself. The storm is now just a memory, an entry in the captain's logbook. It is part of your story, yes, but it has zero power over where you are going now. You are the captain. You chart the course. You command the vessel. Their deepest regret will not be that they lost you. It will be the slow, dawning realization that they were just a petty squall that you navigated on your way to greatness. They were a storm you sailed through while you became the entire ocean. The desire that brought you here was probably simple. It was a hot, sharp, and honest need to see them hurt, to make them feel the sting of regret as acutely as you felt the sting of their disrespect. You wanted them to lie awake at night, haunted by your face. You wanted them to realize with crushing clarity what they had thrown away. It is a human primal urge. It is the cry of a wounded heart wanting justice. There is no shame in it. If you have truly walked this path, if you have sat in the fire of your own pain without flinching, if you have built your silent fortress and forged your inner empire, you will arrive at a strange and profoundly peaceful destination. You will find that the fire for revenge has cooled. Not because you are weak, but because you have become too strong to need it. You will realize the ultimate victory is not seeing regret in their eyes, but seeing nothing at all because you are no longer looking. The obsession has dissolved. The need for their acknowledgement, which once felt like a desperate thirst for water, has completely vanished. The goal was never really to make them regret you. That was just the hook. That was the raw emotion that started the engine. The true goal was always to make yourself so fully, so completely, that their opinion became white noise in the rich symphony of your life. The goal was to reclaim your own mind. The best revenge, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, is to not be like your enemy. Your enemy is captive. They are a prisoner of their own ego, their own insecurities, their own impulses, and their desperate need for control and validation. To remain locked in a battle for their regret is to stay in the prison cell with them. To transcend it is to achieve true freedom. The peace you have cultivated is now too precious to be disturbed by the petty dramas of the past. The empire you have built within yourself has walls too high for their memory to scale. You have done the alchemical work. You have turned their poison into your medicine. You have built a life where your own approval is the only currency that has any value. Their regret may or may not come. They may or may not realize what they lost. But it is no longer your concern. It is a secondary echo of a transformation that was always and only about you. The quiet, unshakable power you now hold is not the power to make them suffer. It is the power to be completely, unshakably, and beautifully indifferent to whether they do or not. You did not get the revenge you thought you wanted. You got something infinitely better. You got yourself back. Subscribe.